glasses are coming, but there are no more glasses, so the glasses of water are coming. Ok, on va commencer. Ok, je commence. Hein.
Ouais, ça
Marine.
pour la première.
Marine, je commence. Bonjour, rebonjour pour les gens qui étaient là déjà à 10h ce matin. La conversation là va être en anglais. Qui ne parle pas très bien anglais ou peut-être pas assez bien, parce qu'en tout cas, nous avons des casques audio de traduction avec Lester au fond, qui traduit en direct de l'anglais vers le français. Donc si jamais vous voulez écouter avec la traduction, n'hésitez pas, il faut choisir le canal 3 et avec la molette, vous réglez le volume. Si jamais vous écoutez d'autres canaux, alors le 4 c'est en anglais, donc c'est ce que vous allez entendre là, et si c'est d'autres canaux, c'est d'autres conférences du MAMA, donc pas très intéressantes pour vous. Voilà, à moins de vouloir des expériences un peu étranges le vendredi matin. Donc voilà, c'est canal 3 et c'est au fond là-bas, et il faut juste ouvrir comme ça et ça s'active. Off you go.
Thank you, Emily, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here a bit early. Hope you enjoyed everything yesterday night. And before to start and to present our panelists, I would just give a bit of context about today's panel, which is about what would an AI respectful of the planet and copyright look like. First, I wanted to ask you, do you have an idea of what does training state-of-the-art model mean really, and what does it impact? So training state-of-the-art model like GPT-4 can consume 50 million of kilowatts, which means it's equivalent to powering thousands of homes for a year. And also, I wanted to make a bit of reference from yesterday's conference about AI and copyright as well, where we explored whether copyright law is a barrier to innovation, and should the responsibility for building new business model with collecting societies such as SACEM or with public institutions. We will perhaps dive into that a bit later. And before we start, I also want to make a clarification between 100% AI-generated works filed without a creative human. So there is a difference between AI-assisted musical works and 100% musical works AI-generated. And last, also, regarding legal and policy landscape from UA Act and copyright reform, I don't know if you read a bit in the press, but you know, like Suno and Udio, which are AI prompt-based platform that allow users to generate music. Actually, they went on a lawsuit from United States, Sony, and Warner. And even though Suno and Udio acknowledge that they train their model on copyright music, like the suits are pending. It's like, even though they recognize like there is no lawsuits, so it's still, I would say, a status quo. So it's very interesting that we will dive into this point today. And now, so let me introduce a bit our panelists. So first we have Terry Taylor-Lee, who is an artist, founder of Kid Monster, and she does explore inclusive and ethical uses of AI in creative works. Hello. Thank you for being here this morning. We have Perrine Guillaumard, he's with us. She's head of SACEM Lab, which is different from SACEM. You also worked at Warner and Idol before, so perhaps you can just tell us what is the difference between SACEM and SACEM Lab?
SACEM Lab sits within SACEM, so we're part of SACEM. We are in the IT department. What we do is very varied. We go within the ecosystem, meet the startups, try to do open innovation or try to learn from the market. And we also experiment in-house. We develop project, proof of concept based on the need of author rights and our operation to try to improve what we do. We do market research. So it's very varied. And the impact of tech on author rights, which I believe we're going to address later.
Yes, I suppose to. Then James Martin, so founder of Better Tech blog and trainer at Green IT, FR, and Frugal AI. Thanks for being here, James.
Thanks for having me.
And finally, we have Elias Karam, so head of business development at IRCAM Amplify and leading also AI music detector development. Thanks for being here. And so let's start. And so I will have a first part, and we want to know a bit where we are now. So I would like to ask you first, Perrine, so from a rights management perspective, what are the main copyright challenges raised by AI training and generative musical works?
I think you touched a bit of that in the introduction.
Yes.
So we're not and never against tech, and we feel that it can be really powerful. But at the same time, we need to make sure that the frame and the value is distributed fairly and ethically. The issue we are having with AI is we know, for instance, with Suno, but there are a lot of others that trained model on copyrighted work without any approval. And since that happened, the AI Act passed, which enabled us to exert the opt-out, saying you cannot train a model, an AI model, whatever the use case is, by the way, without the consent of the authors, and that's what we did as a protective measure. What we really want is to share fair value to make sure that it's ethically trained, to make it sustainable. We want to be able to trace it because it's a lot of opacity at the same time. And we are pretty sure that those tools are already used, and some are have been trained legally, so we know it's possible. And this is the main challenges we faced regarding author rights.
And what would you consider being fairly trained?
Fairly trained is with consent. Whether it needs a revenue or license, that's commercial discussion, should we say. But you cannot do it and rip it just from the web, because music is accessible everywhere. And I think where we are lucky for once, it's the whole creative industry that is facing that, and not only the music industry, compared to maybe other challenges and threats we have faced in the past. And what we have found, tools that are trained, and you mentioned Fairly Trained, there's actually an organization that is called Fairly Trained and has been created by Newton Rex. And if you don't know who he is, he was one who built some of the first AI music generating models, but he did it by licensing the data he needed to train those models. And he had several roles, one in Stability AI, and he left Stability AI saying that he was not aligned with the vision on training and how they respected or not author rights. And he created like a label where he certified that some companies have done what they should do, whether it's proprietary data and they train on, or the licensed data. So it is possible, and we are starting to see the first deals around that. So it's coming.
Yeah, it is coming. But so for now, so there is like nothing really implemented yet in SACEM to track generated AI works, I would say. Yeah.
So first,
or perhaps you cannot say.
No. I think we should reposition some words.
Yeah.
We don't represent recording. You don't track recording, and Elias could say it's way a lot better than me, but the detection model system that exists only analyze the audio of the master. We don't have master because we represent author rights, basically. Yeah. What's a musical works, it's a composition, it's lyrics, and then whether I sing it or Aya Nakamura sings it, basically the author-composer behind it get the author rights. So we cannot use the model to detect composition. It's not possible yet, unless, Elias, you have something to tell me, and I would be amazed.
Yeah. Actually, let's jump to Elias. So, what is IRCAM Amplify, and what are you working on?
No, it's a great question. So, IRCAM Amplify, first of all, everyone knows IRCAM. It's the branch of the Centre Pompidou that focuses on music. So, there's about 150 researchers at IRCAM that have been working for the last 50 years on everything audio, sound, and music. And our job at Amplify is to take this raw research and then turn it into actual useful and usable products for the market. So that's what we do. We're a startup, half public, half private, and we do tech products that we sell to companies, basically. And so our main product, and the one that's been the most successful and the one we're here to talk about, is AI music detector. And it does exactly what it says it does. You send a song to the API, and it tells you if the song is AI or not, from which model it comes.
API, do you know, everyone, what does it mean or not?
So API is kind of like a software point for developers. So we also have something where you can just drag and drop for like normal people like me. But for tech people, you can automate it for like thousands and millions of songs, and you don't have to drag and drop. It's just like automated. And so that's what an API is, basically.
Yeah, and then if you can tell a bit more about your AI music detector and how it works.
Yes, absolutely. So that's what I'm saying. You send a song to the software, and it tells you, we're going to tell you if it's AI or not, yes or no, how confident we are that it's AI, from which model it comes. So Suno, Udio, Refusion, Boomi, there's so many now that we detect. And basically the way it works is that, the analogy I often take is, in old image generation tools, there's like, people with like 6 fingers or things were weird. And so we basically look for those things in the music, but things that you can't hear, artifacts, low frequencies. We're going to look at the spectrum. We're going to look at the frequencies, and we're going to see what are things that are not human. And we do that at scale with also AI training on our side to make sure everything goes faster and is as accurate as possible. We're at like above 99% accuracy and less than 0.5% false positive, which means that we can catch all AI songs, and there's very, very little human songs that get mislabeled as AI.
And so you just mentioned confidence score. What does it really mean, actually?
So it's exactly that, because there's ultimately an AI that does the work of assessing whether a song is AI or not. It's still a probabilistic model at the end. So it's statistics, right? And so basically this confidence score is to tell you how sure is the AI of the result that it's giving you. And so that's a tool for our clients to be able to like sort and say, okay, this song is AI, but it's like 65% confident. And then this song is AI and it's 99% confident. And so they can sort and make sure they don't have to, double check everything.
Thank you. And now we'd like to have a bit more context, like James, can you just tell us, what is actually the AI ecological impact today?
Yeah, it's not something that people think about much because we can use ChatGPT for free and so on. But just to start from the beginning, the impact of all digital activity is about 4% of global emissions, and that's twice civil aviation. So that was before AI. What generative AI, I should insist, we are really talking about generative AI here, AI that makes new content. What that is doing is essentially, I won't get too technical, but because it uses GPUs instead of CPUs, those use 4 times more energy than CPUs. So what we're seeing right now is tripling or quadrupling of the impact of tech because of AI. So for example, in America, the electricity consumption of data centers is expected to triple by 2028. So that's in 3 years' time. We're talking about a really steep curve. Water consumption, because these data centers need to use water too, is quadrupling, so it's going up even more. That's in the US, so that's by 2028. The same thing is predicted to happen by some very serious reports in Europe by 2035, so it's happening here, but it's just gonna take longer. What does that mean? It means that a lot of the big companies who are driving this this growth, they say it's okay. We're going to use nuclear. Nuclear has no emissions. This will all be powered by clean energy soon. Soon is 8 to 10 or maybe 15 years. That's the time it takes to build a nuclear reactor. So what are they doing in the meantime? They are powering these data centers with natural gas, which is not at all emissions free. And sometimes and we're seeing this in the States also, coal-powered electricity generating centers, which were due to be phased out, are being kept going, just so we can keep asking ChatGPT questions. So it is a worrying state of affairs. Is there an AI that's good for the planet? Not the AI that is pretty much being forced upon us right now. There are different ways of doing it more frugally. That's what my training is about. But anyway, yeah. For now, what's happening is that it has some really serious direct effects: energy, water, hardware, but also indirect effects. This technology is also being used to help petrol companies to extract more petrol rather than when we should be stopping. So those are the indirect effects, the enabled emissions. So yeah, my discourse is definitely not all doom and gloom, but we should be super careful. Basically, we're being strongly encouraged, sometimes forced to use something which is not always good for the planet.
And how did you get all this information? Because I know how little transparent big techs might be. So, like, how do you get all that?
Might be, yeah. They definitely are. In fact, this is how I came to put this training course together. The person I do it with is Frédéric Bordet. She basically invented green IT about 20 years ago, and he said that conversation started with, but we don't know because big tech doesn't tell us. Well, actually, more and more people are concerned about this, and more very serious reports are coming out, and a lot of them came out at the end of last year. One was done for the US Department of Energy, so it's a super serious report. Others were done by really big companies like Schneider Electric, who are running all those electricity networks which go to data centers. Others were done by Goldman Sachs, who's not really the most liberal bank you could think of, but even they're all saying the same thing. This is tripling, this is quadrupling. Watch out. So before it was speculation. As of the end of last year, we have scientific proof that this is very worrying indeed.
And what would you say about perhaps alternative that might emerging from?
So the alternatives to these to the big models like the GPT-5 is the latest, or Gemini, which is Google's, you can use much smaller models. You can use much more specialized models. So, for example, rather than asking ChatGPT to translate something, ask DeepL, which is a specialized model, which isn't going to scan the entire internet. It's just going to be concentrated on your task, which is translating. And then actually, I should actually go back a step, because what I always say, the first question you should ask is, do I really need AI to do this? Are there other technologies which can help me do it instead? If I do, then I should always try and use smaller models, which basically LLMs, you measure their size by the number of parameters. Basically, the less parameters they have, the less energy and resources they will consume. So smaller models, the better. Yes, and also try and use, this is an interesting one for the sort of geopolitical aspect. If you can use if those models are running in data centers that are in France or Sweden, we have electricity which is 10 times cleaner than in the States, for example, because there's 10 times less carbon in the electricity. That means basically, when you ask an LLM a question, it goes from your phone or your PC to a data center which works out the answer and sends it back to you. These calculations are too big to be done on your actual advice. So it has to go through a data center. That's where the impact comes from. If the data center is in Europe, then it's likely to be less impactful than in the States.
And thank you. Actually, I want to jump on what kind of AI model you use. I don't know if you noticed, but on ChatGPT, for example, when you ask a question, you can choose the model. And using ChatGPT 5 rather than using ChatGPT 4.0, it's absolutely not the same. For instance, ChatGPT 5, it requires almost 8 times full fuel of a big car, rather than GPT 4, it's lesser. We don't have that much data on that, but we know the 5.1 is it's 10 or 12 times higher than the GPT 4. And so that is important to really take into consideration, and having a responsible, I would say, a use of the way we personally use or professionally use AI. And now I want to ask you, Terry, finally, are artists conscious of their use of AI? What's your thought on that?
I think artists don't know where to turn at the moment.
Yeah.
I think they feel battered. I think it's like being in a sci-fi movie and the artists are in this battered little spaceship, and all around them are battles with governments, with tech companies, possibly even with or within their rights organizations, maybe even with other artists, because there can be controversy over a creative AI use, even within your community or your rights organization. And they don't have the information they need to make conscious choices. I like the fact that we've been talking about transparency already. When I was using AI on my band's album a couple of years ago, I was in a very lucky position because it was trained on me. I trusted the technologist. It was bespoke. So I felt quite confident. But I think it's rare for artists to be able to have that confidence in a very fast changing world. But there are good signs. I've noticed, particularly with creative production tools, there seems to be a trend for transparency. It's mostly about the training than the energy use, but we're seeing people say, yes, this is licensed. The vocals in this vocal AI were licensed from artists. We've created our own training database. So there is a recognition that creatives, want that reassurance and that confidence.
And still, I mean, if we make the link between authorship and right management, when I like to take this example of Benoît Carré, who is a French music AI composer that put lots of emphasis in saying, I do not prompt AI-based music. I co-compose with AI, and also he did a music with a US-based artist that were allowed to use her voice to create and generate new works. And the only thing she asked actually was just to share the rights, and then so it declared to SACEM, that second US artist, and then when he wanted to actually get in touch with this person, it was nothing happened. So actually didn't knew where rights then management were flowing and how it was actually tracked. So I want to ask you still, Terry, this tension between AI creativity and right management. If there is artists in this room, how can you thrive in this in this landscape? If you have
There are
some
so many
tips.
discussions about this, and to thrive in the landscape, you have to be confident in your own creativity, and that your creativity is driving your ideas are driving the AI if you're using AI, and there's so many obviously different kinds of AI, whether it's in your DAW when you're producing or lyric writing or whatever. There's often a sort of lack of structure and how to categorize the work you're doing with AI. And I had a very interesting conversation with someone from the rights organization Boomer Stemra recently, and they've actually tried to attach some structure. And when you register a track, you can register the amount of AI, and your contribution, the AI's contribution, and I think that's a very good way to go. That we actually think about how we can formalize that, not formalize the creative work, but formalize how we think about it, and So I think there's room for innovation to help create frameworks to support artists and creativity.
But
Can I jump on that?
yes, please.
I agree. So I think because it's a fast evolving tech, and you're mentioning DAW, so I'm just going to give another example. If you also the last version of Suno and try it out, it's called Suno Studio. It's a DAW. You can import music, and it's not just prompt music. You can do so much as a creative tool. I'm not saying Suno rocks, because there's a lot of issue behind it, but we are seeing that it's becoming an assistant, a tool within creation. And I think we're not challenging the fact that you cannot be creative with AI. The thing is how you assess it, how you declare it. So most of CMOs at the moment are trying to figure that out, even collectively. And some of us have published guidelines to try to help navigate. It's very simple one at the moment. If it's 100% generated by AI, it shouldn't be registered because there is not necessarily a human imprint. But to understand, it depends also on the law behind it, which can be different in different territories. In France, we have author rights. It's different from copyrights, and basically you have to have the imprint of the artist, you have to have a creative intent in what you do and basically keep the control, which if you do so, it's interesting. And let's imagine like I create a track, hopefully I'm not doing that, but let's imagine I create a track, I upload it on Suno, I rework it, so I was at the origin of everything, I choose everything from the start of the creation to the end of the production. If I put it through the wonderful AI detector, it will say maybe that there's a lot of AI within it, but I've used it as a producing tool. So that's what is also difficult, is that we always have to adapt with the use of AI by creators to make sure that we can represent how they work and to adapt to the tech. So I think we're giving more and more guidelines, and everyone is starting to think how you can prove that it has added AI or not.
If I can just come in quickly. Obviously, artists love to experiment. We're all about experimenting, trying new things, trying to create new forms of music that have never been heard before. But the top tip I've had on a very practical level is to document your process if you're using AI, because things are changing so fast. You don't know, how things will work if new laws or guidelines come in. So document what you've been doing, and at least that'll help.
And yeah, thank you. So just to jump on Suno Studio, what I found very striking is like actually it allows you to separate stems, so you can drag and drop whatever tracks and then just get rid of the drums or get rid of the bass or create new bass lines out of it. And so how would new perhaps AI detector detect that? Is that a way where we should go, or perhaps it's a new way of creation?
So there's two parts to this answer. The first one is like really if we focus technically on it, there's nothing new with stem separation. And it's basically taking two things that existed before and then putting them in the same tool. You stem separate, and then you use an AI tool to generate another stem, and then you use that. So it is something that was throwing off our tool for a while. It's like there was part of it that was human, part of it that was AI. and we were like, we can only detect things are like 100% human or 100% AI. And so it was something that we worked on a lot because a lot of our clients, whether it's distributors or streaming services, they were like, actually, most of what we get is like half and half. It's like half vocal AI, and then the instrumental is human, or the opposite. And so it is something that we've the first thing, it is something that we've worked on, and is something that's going to come out very soon before the end of the year, which is detection per stem. And that way we're going to be able to give even finer detection results to our client, whether it's streaming services or distributors. And they'll be able to know, okay, on this song, only the drums is AI and the rest is human. So for them, maybe that's going to be fine. For others, they're going to expect 100% human music. That's the only thing they're going to want to distribute. We don't really know. One thing for certain, to on what Terry was saying, is a lot of distributors or streaming services, when they have a problem with an artist, they're like, oh, this sounds, the AI detector comes back as positive, it sounds AI, and they ask. And so the first thing they ask the artist is, okay, show me how have you done the track, right? And this is how you're able to realize, okay, maybe there was some AI used in the process, but it wasn't entirely AI. And so in this case, they're like, okay, fine, it's human. It was AI tools that were used, and it is like a human song. So yes, document the process. I can't agree more. And on the fact that everything's going to be tracked, DDEX. So DDEX is kind of like the standard for musical recordings and how they're shared between services, basically. And it's like you have everything, the name of the artist and the producer and all the credits, right? They're going to have a section very soon on what stems are AI, how many stems are AI, how much of AI has been used. And so this is going to be able, everyone's going to be able to use it. And that way everything is going to be even simpler. And that way, if you're an artist and you document your process, and then you can, reference those section in the DDEX of your song, then you won't have any problems with, depending on how the rules are going to be made. Different distributors are going to have different rules. Different streaming services are going to have different rules. We'll see. But I think things are going on in the right direction, for sure.
Thank you. And before to speak about the future, I just want to ask you just one misconception to close the first part of Where Are We Now regarding AI debates that is most needed to communicate to the public. Just one. Terry?
You have the power. I think people think that tech companies, it's all over for the artist or whoever, but it isn't. Just you have the power.
Love it. Perrine? Or James, perhaps if you need to think more.
I've just got this question. Sorry, it's not a misconception. It's you. So far, the panel is quite positive about AI, but are you not worried? I'm the only non-music person here, so I can say it's no problem. Are you not worried about, especially Terry, about the slop effect, which is the more reliant we are on generative AI tools, the more they'll be feeding off your work, basically, and then they'll end up feeding off their own product, and then they would just come out with garbage. You know that you must know the expression garbage in, garbage out. Are you not concerned that music creators as a whole will become so dependent on AI that there will be no more original creation?
Yes, of course, but that's a whole other panel, I think. But also, artists find new ways of doing things, and there will be difficulties, there will be changes. But if you look at the resurgence of vinyl, people want physical things, tactile things. I saw an amazing performance that created a roadblock outside the Bar Royale last night. It was wonderful, wonderful artist. And it's like, the visceral nature of that experience is something people will always crave.
One misconception, Perrine?
It's not necessarily a misconception, but people say it's about transparency and whether we should let people know that you're listening to an AI track. And based on everything that you said, it can be a tool, it can be used, and it's going to be used. So should we disclose it? I mean, for more for the sake of listening to it rather than transparency. Transparency is needed, but should we make the distinction? Because people say they could recognize AI. I don't think they can anymore. And if it's part of the creative process, should we question that?
Interesting thought. And Elias?
You know, I have no personality. I'm going to say the same thing as Perrine. Basically, it's one thing that we say a lot at Earthcam Amplify. Every time people ask us, are we pro or anti-AI? We're neither. We're pro-transparency. And I think this is, you know, the great thing of art, music, is that we're always going to find new ways of doing it. Even, you know, all my sisters are, you know, crazy on TikTok and they have very low attention span, even myself, to be honest. But even if we have like a 5-second attention span, there's always new trends. There's always new things to surprise us. There's always, you know, a new something. There's a new Instagram bar that everyone's going to go to, and then 2 weeks later, there's going to be another one. And so I think it's going to be the same thing with music, but like on a obviously longer, bigger scale. We're not, you know, I think if the same music becomes repetitive, some people are going to come out with something new, and then everyone's going to copy, and then people are going to get bored of that, and someone's going. It has basically been art forever, and I think AI is just going to make those cycles faster than they've already been. So I think we should be hopeful, because if we're not hopeful, what's the point? What are we doing here? We should be hopeful, and we should just work towards that, you know, this future that we're hopeful for.
Thank you. So now, just let's explore alternative and new model pathway, perhaps. And first, Perrine, I wanted to ask you if at SACEM you start seeing like new business model emerging and ensuring also fair valuing with creator in the AI era, or it's still under construction?
I think the human will get creative commercially to address the usages. So I think we've done it with the evolution of streaming from market-centric to artist-centric, and SACEM did it. We had connection with, we're one of the first to strike deals with UGC platform, with TikTok, Meta, so I don't see why not. Of course, if we express the opt-out saying that you cannot train unless you get a license, we are discussing license, otherwise it would be pointless. I cannot detail any tips on how these conversations are going because it's confidential and as it should be. But yes, of course, licensing is there, and we will adapt as we always have adapted, knowing that some of the models, there is the Suno as the audio, but are created by GAFAM, with whom we already have contractual relationship. So I think it's almost easier, not the topic, but to have those commercial discussion than before.
Okay. And so, Elias, so we know actually that Deezer reported 28% of generated content. Sorry, I will start again. 28% of all distributed music on Deezer is actually 100% generative AI music. So how can Earthcam Amplify help in tracking? So you mentioned the AI music detector, but I don't know if you can speak about partnership, perhaps?
No, for sure. So to give more context, in January of this year, so that was what, 9 months ago, 10 months ago, Deezer, who are good friends and we love them, but we have absolutely no relationship with them. They use their own tool, you know, I love them, but we don't work together. They use their own tool, and in January, they said that their music they received, 10% of it was AI. In March or April, it was already 18%. So 3 months later, it almost doubled. And then now, in September, they said it was 28. So in less than, 9 months, it just like tripled. So that's crazy, and that's insane. And that's kind of like we're trying to help because we're trying to help at every level. So first, we work with DSPs, well, not Deezer, but others, on being able to, have those same numbers and be able to detect AI music and then put rules. What do we do? you can't really do anything with AI unless you know where it is, right? You can't say, "Oh, I'm going to ban AI music," but where it is, you don't know. So that's what we help them do first: understand where's the problem, detect the problem, so that they can actually find a solution to the problem. First, DSPs, and then we go back down the line a little bit, and we help distributors because some DSPs are going to put rules, and they're going to say, maybe AI on Deezer. I think AI music now is shadow banned, so you still get your money, but it's not going to show up in recommendation. It's not going to show up in playlists. It's not going to show up anywhere. It's like shadow banned on YouTube. You have to have the link of the music to be able to find the song. So I think other DSPs are going to do the same thing, if not worse. And so distributors are going to be more careful what music they distribute. So we help distributors, same thing, being able to detect AI music so they can make the best decisions, right? And then one step before that, it's the labels. It's the people that send this music to distributors. And we do the exact same thing. Make sure that they can trust their artist by being, just a verification check if the song is fully human before sending it to a distributor who's going to send it to the DSP. And so what we do at Hurricane Amplify to be able to stop that is basically because we kind of empower everyone in the value chain to be able to detect AI music and to take action when they want to, where they want to take actions, is that it's going to become deterrent in the long run, right? If you don't get music, if you can't get money from AI music, then what's the point of actually making AI music? And so I think that's how we basically kind of help this whole process, trying to make sure that when the distributors, when the DSPs, when the CMOs, when they put the laws and the rules, we're here to help you identify and detect those AI music so you can apply whatever sanction or fines or you want.
Thank you. And so at a policy level, perhaps, James, have you seen any taxation or like incentive trying to help in reducing also?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's one of those things where yet again tech has gone way faster than legislation. The EU is fortunately the EU has been ahead of the curve. So that you mentioned the AI Act. That's the first law to try and keep this sort of AI boom in check. But what it does is it focuses on four types of harms of AI, and it especially focuses on the two most dangerous. For example, if AI is ever used to do facial recognition and social scoring, like in some cities in China, that would just be totally verboten and banned in Europe. Other sort of very worrying things, it could, if it's used for terrorism or whatever, then it's straight out. Unfortunately, we're hoping this will evolve, but the AI Act doesn't say much about reducing the environmental impact of AI. It talks more about, so there's a difference between green AI, which is how can we make AI greener, and AI for green, which is how can AI help slow down climate change. And it mainly talks about AI for green, not green AI. So hoping that green AI bit will come back in more, but then there are other things happening, and in France is if France is a bit of a green AI pioneer, because there's this there are these guidelines. It's called in French called the référentiel IA frugal. So this is AFNOR, which is the French standardization organization. They've come up with these guidelines for all companies, not just music companies, say how to put AI in place in a more frugal way in your company. It's about 30 or 40 guidelines, but they can basically the first one is what I said earlier. Are you sure you really need AI to get around this problem? And then if you do, make sure you're using the least impactful possible. That's basically the golden rule. So this is not a law. I should stress these are just guidelines. No one will get in trouble for not following these guidelines. But what is promising about these guidelines is that it's it's in the process of becoming European guidelines. So that's why France is really leading the way in terms of trying to keep a lid on these impacts, and especially if the French norm becomes European, then that'll be a great progress in itself.
And if we want to see this référentiel, where can we, with all the guidelines, where can we find it?
It's on the AFNOR's website.
Yeah.
And it's just a PDF that you download. Super
Yeah.
simple.
Okay, interesting. Terry, so from an artist perspective, I wanted to ask you what cooperative or common-based models inspire you in building fairer AI ecosystems?
I think this area is ripe for a cooperative model, but it needs to be in partnership with industry experts as well. There doesn't seem to be much progress on cooperative models on AI in music. We know that there's all sorts of cooperative AI in VR and health tech and retail. But in terms of cooperatives that are inspiring in this area, more generally, there's a cooperative called Subvert, and they're setting out to be a successor to Bandcamp on the basis Bandcamp has been sold twice. The sort of offering for artists is getting more worrisome, and they've amassed 10,000 members globally, which is a fairly good size for a new co-op, and are launching in the autumn. So I think, and also I'm inspired by civic data cooperatives. We've all got lots of data about ourselves that we don't have access to, we can't profit from. And there's a regional cooperative in the Liverpool region that's a civic data cooperative. And I think that kind of model where our data, we have a say over our data and we can profit for its use. So, and that for music, I think would be brilliant.
Thank you. Since we have only like 15 minutes left, let's jump directly to our last part and try to project ourselves perhaps in the future a bit without doing like futurology. But still, I wanted to ask you all if you could have like a magical baguette and you could do everything new from scratch. What principle and guardrails, that was the name, would you enshrine? So who won the magical baguette? James.
I'll go. Yeah. It's another French best practice.
Okay.
Which is if you want to work with certain French ministries, especially the Ministry for Ecology, and you have an AI project that you're bringing to them, you have to show them that you have used the least impactful model possible. Otherwise, you won't get the job. That, in other words, if you come to them with, oh, we made this thing based on OpenAI tech, they would just say no. They will, like you won't even get the meeting. I'd like to see that sort of thing generalized to music, to all sorts of industries, because people need to be showing that they're making an effort to use only the resources they need. And so often ChatGPT is, or these big models are like, what I say is like using a bazooka to swat a fly. It's way too much firepower. You don't need something massive like ChatGPT to write an email, and yet that's what a lot of people use it for. But for that to happen, that would be my second wish, is that GAFAM be fully transparent about the impact of these models. That's what made you laugh, because it is a complete it's a pipe dream. What they do instead is they say, oh, the impact of one prompt is tiny. It takes less water than, it's like this much water, this much energy. So what are we worrying about? Well, what we're worrying about is it's this much impact times 1 billion users per week. That's the number of users of ChatGPT. 1 billion users per week. It's insane. So when you put all that impact together, it's way too much. But they're not. They're only saying the impact of one prompt. They're not saying the total impact. So it's sort of selective greenwashing. It's a bit like Ryanair recently. They said they were the greenest airline because they had the least emissions per passenger. Right? That's classic greenwashing because it's hiding their total emissions, because in fact they were not. They didn't have the lowest emissions at all. They're an airline. I mean, Christ. So what I'm. Yeah, so I'm aware that pipe dream is not going to happen, but I'm using that example as a lesson, as a tip. If you're ever told just the individual impact of something, don't believe it. It's probably greenwashing.
Perrine, you wanted to ask something?
I'm going to stop laughing first. Basically, to have consultation with all parties ahead, let's say that we build tools for creators to build those tools with them, because apart from the fact that it needs to be trained fairly and all we discussed before, I feel sometimes that the creative process can be so diverse that sometimes we're missing the use cases and we cannot build them without artists. And they are evolving and they're doing other addition to make sure that they fit within the workspace. But I feel that if we have everyone around the table to have the AI developer understands what the artists need and us understanding what they need to have real models that fits the usage, I think it would be like interesting to have it beforehand. I know it's a dream as well, but yeah.
Thierry?
I think we need radical transparency, yes, but for consumers, not just around policy and policymakers, because people just don't understand the impact of their choices. And I think you can do that in delightfully simple ways. Has anyone bought a fridge recently? No? If you buy a fridge, certainly in the UK, I think throughout Europe, you get a sticker on the side and it's colour-coded and how much energy your fridge uses. Well, why can't we have a digital equivalent of that and that everything comes with a sort of flag that tells you that? Is that already happening?
There is an Energy Star rating for AI, but it's limited to those models which do declare their impact, and of course the biggest GAFAM models do not declare it, so it's an incomplete ranking.
But where does it pop up? Does it pop up in your web browser?
No, you have to go to the.
Yeah,
you have
exactly.
to know it exists, and then you have to go to the website. The initiative is there, but the problem is making sure people know about it and making it apply to the most used models, which it can't, because of this lack of transparency.
No, but I know that companies that are building in-house using the LLMs, they can add like stickers with colors. It's not the energy that is being consumed behind it directly, but it's the number of token you're using. So you know that you are maybe in excessive use in your task, and it's another way to do it more simply, and that can be done individually or by corporation.
That's how this ranking works. It's the number of the amount of energy used per token. Yeah.
And so just to close and to give you like 5 minutes, sorry, it's not that much, but we had a lot to cover today. So what would be just one single recommendation that you could give to either artists, creators, policymaker, to handle both AI in more ethical and responsible ways? One.
Learn to use AI. Learn to use the right AI. Not all of them are equal. And document your process, really. It was just like the golden rule, I think.
Yeah, it's won't be that different from what you said. Just sort of use the right tool for your needs. Otherwise, you'll be using excessive resources, and you might also be giving away your data or giving away your IP to people who might be doing things with it. A lot of the free versions of the LLMs, they are free because they are then using your data to train their models on. So just, be careful about what you use. Try and use the more specialized models. I haven't said anything about open source, but open source models are usually better than the sort of closed proprietary ones, because you know what the impact is and you can control your data better. If you're just using the free version of ChatGPT, all your data is going off to the USA, where it's being used to train other models.
I must say, even though you pay. actually.
Even
though you
even
pay,
if you
yeah,
pay,
it's
yes,
just
true.
good to
It depends
get
how
that.
much you pay.
No, but even like the 200 euros, like they just keep it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
when you have an enterprise
Yeah.
subscription, then they say we will not. They promise, pinky promise, not
Yeah.
not to
GAFAM
use your data.
promises.
Mm.
Perrine?
It was very similar. Like read the
Yeah.
T's and C's. It's not sexy at all, but sometimes you don't know that you actually have not the right to use what you've built with it. Be careful with what you feed the beast, even if it's a fantastic beast. Basically, that's it.
Mine is get engaged, get involved, use your voice. It's kind of all the same thing, really. It's your future, and you need to be co-designing it.
And feel powerful. I love that. Any question? Yes. Okay. So let's start. English better. Wait, there is a mic just coming. Thanks.
I'm very happy to have in front of me someone from the CSM and someone from ICAM Amplify. Today, I can generate music on Suno, for example, declare it on CSM website, and earn copyrights from this song. I'm not the composer, but I can earn royalties. Today, someone from ICAM Amplify tell me I can tell you 99% it's IA. You're from SAMSAM? Why you don't use it? First question. Second question, the last post on LinkedIn from the president of, je sais pas comment on dit conseil d'administration,
Administration Council.
Patrick Sigvalt.
Board.
Head of the board.
The head of the board was talking about IA problems and copyright problems and tell us we're going to do with UNESCO and tell this is pareil, patrimoine de l'humanité, okay? And isn't it more efficient, it can amplify than UNESCO? I have two questions.
She partially answered this question earlier by saying that they don't have recordings. We can only take recordings. So I can only the sound. They don't get the sound. I need the sound. Yeah, but they don't actually use it in their processes.
It's not like, yes, you can give the file, but we don't have it because it's not mandatory, because your master is a way to imprint your work, but work are as varied as their version and covers of it. So we don't have audio for every work that is being registered, and believe me, we have less and less. So that's why. And even though we had the audio, we can only study composition of the work. You detect production, music production. So I don't know if you as a creator have used the Suno, the audio of the world, just to record in a way your music, but you have like written all the music composition hand by hand, you have written the lyrics, it will come as a positive, but I don't know if you have the imprint, the artists that you are, have really worked and controlled the full production of it. So it could be just a production tool and not necessarily a creation tool. So we do make the distinction between content generated by AI and musical works, but these tools, they are guidelines, but it doesn't stick for what we do exactly. I'm not sure if
You could record your song and then send it to Suno and say, make me a cover of that song with just piano and voice, and then you send that to SSM. It's still your work, but the recording is AI. So it's like, but you did write the song.
That's why we agree you need to document your process, your creative process.
There was like two questions, and then we have to stop, unfortunately.
I don't know if I really understood everything, and I don't know the details of author rights, but my question is, what if someone use a Gen AI tool to generate hundreds and hundreds of compositions per day and start register it to SACEM or another institution? Is that a threat that you think could happen? And if so, how to prevent it?
Yes, it's possible. But then the question is like, how do they make money? They make money because they make money off Spotify. But then the question is like, Spotify knows the recording is AI, or eventually they will know the recording is AI. So they want to actually make money off of that. So they can register everything you want. They don't make money off the recordings. Doesn't really matter.
You have to understand how it would be easier for me in French. What author right is like. For the moment, you have to have creative intent, and this cannot be appreciated. Whether it's a prompt or if you roll the dice on Suno and Udio, that might not be considered as creativity because you didn't have enough human input, human control in the creation process. Back to what we said, document creating the process. Agreed with Elias, you can deliver a lot of music. I can deliver, nobody's going to listen to it, so it won't generate rights in that way. And at the same time, another statistic that Deezer shared publicly is that 70% of those 100% AI-generated content, they are used for fraudulent music, fraudulent streaming, so they get caught also in that way. So even if Spotify, let's say, or Apple or Amazon didn't detect AI, but they would see some fraudulent streams, they wouldn't get revenue that way.
What would
So
you
it's
do
partial,
that,
but
actually? I said, what would you do that? I mean, it's just like spamming DSPs and then there is no remuneration whatsoever.
But actually, people are getting money that way. It is happening. And there's a big legal case against some guy, I think an American guy, who did just that and has earned millions, literally millions. But he seems to be getting picked on, actually, because he's not the only one. And also, there's a whole thing about some DSPs potentially doing this themselves to kind of send more money in their direction. But anyway, who knows?
No, I agree with you. And this was the whole news with Boomi. I think the guy that did it with Boomi. But basically, that's how tools like ours kind of prevent that. It's like we empower the streaming services, the distributors to be able to make the difference between human songs, AI songs, and that way they can stop giving money to 100% AI music if they want to.
human will be creative, even for fraud. So we need to adapt, and we are always adjusting.
Just one last question. I think I saw this person. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm going to be quick. I love the philosophical question about where is the artist when you use Gen AI and prompt. Nice. But isn't going to be a rabbit hole because we try to find an answer to control all the generation. So first we build AI with non-ecological way, with uncopyrighted data. And after we build AI to check if it's a working AI who is going to be maybe trained with uncopyrighted data, non-logical, etc., and so on.
Our AI is not Gen AI. So first of all, the difference is crazy. First thing. Second thing is whether it's this, but in this tool there's very little content that we train on. But for all our other tools, and this one included, everything is licensed. Obviously, we're not going to be here and give lessons and not do the work ourselves, right? Everything is perfectly clear on our side. When clients come, this is one of the first things they ask. It's like, they want to make sure the AI is clean, and we give them all the proof. We give them, the invoices. We give them the whole thing. So no, we wouldn't be here giving lessons and playing, cop if we weren't ourselves following the rules.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid we have to close. Thank you to Terry, Perrine, James, and Elias, and as well to Émilie Gonneau, who invited all of us to be here today to speak about this long-lasting debate. And I'm confident that we will manage to find a solution whatsoever at some point. So thank you very much to all, and see you around.